What's up, guys? I just spent the better part of the past 2 days researching and looking into the CARE Act, which is this $2 trillion relief plan for the United States government for you guys. So I've heard 1,000 different questions on the internet about what it is, and my hope here is to really help you guys understand and explain everything that I found in a lot simpler terms, so you don't have to be reading that 800-page legal document that they had. I got through about 20 minutes of that and decided to just look up a million different summaries. So to start out with, what is this care package really doing? Well, what you're probably familiar with is the $1,200 check that's going to be going out to pretty much everybody over the age of 17 well, that's what the act claims anyway. I'll get to that in a minute, but first I want to talk a little bit about the effects that this is going to have on our economy. There's $500 billion going out to business loans for medium and large-sized businesses alone. Over 25 billion of that is going to air carriers, another 4 billion to cargo air carriers, 17 billion to businesses maintaining national security, and a staggering $454 billion going to mid and large-sized businesses. Now, this isn't just free money that the government's giving out to them, as many people see is going to you and me. This $454 billion is a loan to these businesses that they are going to have to be paying back. But there is a limit of a 2% maximum interest rate on these loans. Now, for anybody who's been dealing with loans, that is insane how low that's going to be. It's pretty much free money for all of these businesses that are willing to take this plunge. Though, there are some small limits on what businesses can and can't claim this. You have to be maintaining a certain percentage of your workforce and planning to recuperate most of your business within the next year, up to at least 80% of what standards were before this. Now, this is to encourage these businesses to actually keep our economy stimulated. They're not just bailing them out for the sake of bailing them out. They're bailing out these businesses so that the economy doesn't crash completely. We've been seeing the volatility rates in the S&P 500 in the past few days. It's crazy. Your stock can be down 10% one day and back up 12 the other. You never really know what's happening right now. They're hoping that with these plans, it's going to calm things down a little bit and not make our not make the stock market as volatile as it is right now. Now, another $150 billion is also going to state governments, local Native American tribes, and local governments in and of themselves. I think this is also really wise investment from the United States government to actually spend their money there so that it's, again, helping our economy as a whole. What many people don't realize is what's happening up at the state level isn't going to affect you nearly as much as what your mayor can do. What your mayor is doing is going to impact your day-to-day life 9 out of 10 times more than the president is.
Bing, bing. I love it. I love it.
Now, we talked about that $500 billion that was going to large businesses before, but what about those smaller businesses? Well, the government sees these as a lot bigger of a risk on their end. So, again, they are still offering loans to all of these businesses. They're not just throwing them out to sharks in the water. But one key difference is that these businesses are only allowed $10 million each. These small business loans also cap out at a 4% interest rate instead of the 2% that these larger businesses were going after. I mean, while it's true that these smaller businesses are more of a risk, I think it's those smaller businesses that are hurting more than your Teslas and Apple right now. Though it can be hurting their profit margins in the short term, there's no way that this is going to be dealing a deadly blow to a company as big as Apple. Okay, but now to everything that you guys really came to this video for. Where's the $1,200 that I'm supposed to be getting? Well, any American over the age of 17 does qualify for $1,200 if you file individually or $2,400 if you file a loan. On top of that, you also get a $500 credit per child that you have in your household. And on the surface, this sounded absolutely amazing. Except there was one problem with it. This bill was very rushed out when they were trying to get it on the Senate floor. Though it did pass on March 27th, there wasn't much time devoted to actually writing this if you look at the history of how long a bill actually normally takes to write. Reason being that they were trying to get this out as fast as possible. If they couldn't stimulate the economy, then we could be seeing us enter a recession very easily. So they did months of work in just a handful of days, which is commendable. But it leaves a lot of holes in this legislation. One of the major problems being people my age. At the ages of 17 to 20, you qualify for the $1,200, but there's several things that can still disqualify you from being able to make this money. Now, I still live at home with my parents, so they're claiming me as a dependent on their tax return. But when filing what type of dependent, they have to say that I am an other dependent. They can't directly claim me as a child on their tax return, which means they're not going to be getting that bonus $500 for having a kid in the household from me. Where it starts to get gray is whether or not I would get any money to begin with. Now, my instinct was, since I was over 18 and working for the past 2 years, that would mean that I'm guaranteed a return. But it isn't that simple. Because my parents are able to claim me as a dependent on their return, the language of this bill isn't specific enough to tell whether or not I'm going to get the money or not.
Show me the money.
This is where I think the bill really falls flat, is again in the specificity. Since it was rushed out of the Senate so quickly, there's a lot of unanswered questions that we have about this. The Treasury Department hasn't been able to tell us the specifics yet of being able to answer all of these questions, so frankly, I can't say whether or not, if you're in the same position as me, whether or not you're going to get the money, because right now we just don't know. What we do know is that anybody that's not claimed as a dependent in any way whatsoever and making under $75,000 will be getting this money. If you make over $75,000 a year, that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't get the money, but it's going to be capped out on how much that you can get. The more over $75,000 that you make up until a certain threshold is slightly less of that $1,200 that you're going to be getting. There's 3 more parts of this bill that I think are being largely ignored that actually might have a significant effect on people. Unemployment is being offered to gig workers now. So if you're a performer relying on local gigs for a source of income, you could now qualify for unemployment. Under this plan, you could get up to $600 a week, even if you made less than that while working your gigs. This is an amazing part of our stimulus package because there are so many people that rely on gigs as a source of income, and previously they didn't even get unemployment benefits because of this. They've increased the amount that you can write off when you're donating to charity, whether that be churches, local businesses. Ooh, I should think of another example. Churches, business, Goodwill. That's because these organizations are probably hurting for cash right now too. And if they're able to increase the amount that we're able to write off of that, that's going to be encouraging a lot more people to donate to them. So it might be worth it to forfeit a little bit of your check to at least visit a local business and try to help them out, because they're probably hurting right now more than ever. And the last piece of this bill that I really wanted to touch on is for those corporations that were able to stay open during this epidemic. The government is offering 50% back up to $10,000 in payroll that corporations pay out right now. So, some of the businesses that were able to stay open during this are able to recuperate a lot of the money that they spent on employees. Overall, yeah, I think this is really going to help out our economy. Whether it's going to be directly impacting the stock market and we're going to see it rubber band back up in the next few months, that's questionable. I wouldn't put money directly on that. That's very speculative. You need to be dollar cost averaging into the market constantly in order to see the returns that you're going to see on average. Would I love this extra $1,200? Yes, I definitely would. It would help out my investment portfolio a ton, especially since I've just gotten started. This relief package would kickstart me off the ground, and I would be really grateful. How realistic is it though? Well, that I'm not too sure about. Since the Treasury Department hasn't released any new information, it's uncertain what's going to be happening to people in my age group who are similar to my situation. Now, I'm not getting greedy. I obviously understand that I probably won't be getting it because I don't have anything like rent, mortgage, or even having to buy groceries every month. That's just not a necessity for me as my role in the family. But I could also see the argument that since I'm so young, this would help stimulate the economy even more. People my age are spending money on a lot of frivolous things, such as eating out. Franchises are one of the businesses that have gotten hurt the most during this time. That's one of the reasons I was laid off. I worked inside of a franchise that isn't around anymore. The entire store had to disappear, so it's uncertain what's gonna happen. I'll try to keep you guys updated on what announcements are made in the future. I can tell you guys right now that if I do end up getting a stimulus package, 90% of it is going straight to the market. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a ton of fun making it, even though the research could be an absolute pain. If you have any questions, just drop it down in the comments below, and hopefully my hours of dedication will finally pay off. Thanks, guys.